need to create an environment for your teams to do their best work. So how are you showing up? Are you showing up on Monday and exhausted from the weekend and I don't want to do anything? Or are you showing up on Monday feeling inspired and, hey, how can I help the team? What can I do for you? I think it depends on how you show up, because your teams are going to get that from you and they're going to duplicate that. So if they see you taking care of their internal customers, they're going to take care of the internal customers. If they see you're rude, they're going to probably duplicate that. Everybody's watching what you're doing. So I think it comes from how you show up every day. It's how you embody the values and behaviors in an organization. And it's all the little things that your team is watching with what you're doing, as well as your peers.
Thank you so much for joining another edition of the Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Today, we are joined by Ryan Bradford. Now, Ryan is passionate about building, leading, modernizing procurement, experienced at doing it. He's a writer and a speaker. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Very happy to be here. Thanks for taking the time today.
So, Ryan, we know that customer experience matters to sales, it matters to customer service, it matters to retail, and so many other businesses and parts of departments within businesses. What is holding procurement up from recognizing almost universally that customer experience so matters so much?
I think there's a couple things when it comes to that, but one thing I would say is around customer experience. Most source of procurement organizations are not prioritizing customer experience. So we're in business to support our customers, but we often think in procurement is, how do others work with us? Like, here's our process, our procedures. How should people engage us? Here's how we can help you. Here's all the governance requirements that you need to do. But it's all about others working with us, and it's an inward focus. And we're not outward focused, looking at it from the customer on what their needs are, either the internal customer or external customer. So I'd say that's probably the one big thing right off the bat.
I think there's the internal customers, there's the end customer of the organization that ultimately needs something, and there's also the suppliers as a customer of sorts as well, right?
There is. Most common is your internal customers from source of procurement, especially if you're indirect focused, is all your collaborators who you end up working with, as well as your stakeholders who are reaching out to you, or people that are asking you to work on contracts, to buy stuff, to various services. You have a lot of internal customers across the organization. Yes, you've also got suppliers, which you need to partner with them to deliver to those internal customers, but you also have the external customers, those that are actually buying the services for your company. Obviously, Those are most important of all.
Absolutely. So I often consider the contrast between walking into a store and somebody that says, "Hey, how can I help you?" And somebody that says, "Can I help you?" And it's almost the same words, but the attitude is miles apart. One of them is engaging, and one of them is a complete and utter turnoff. And I have faced that in the store, and I've turned right around and left. And I'm imagining that there are organizations out there that are still pretending that, "Can I help you? Please take a number, fill out this TPS report form," that feel like that's good enough. How do we shake that loose? How do we help wake those folks up and remind them what good looks like?
Nobody likes going in that type of an environment. I know if I go in a store like that, I'm probably going to turn around as well. Sourcing and procurement needs to be easy to engage. It should be a good experience. It doesn't need to be overly complex. We don't need to get bogged down in governance or all the other requirements. There's modern tech that can help us. It can be an easy experience. But getting back to your question, there's a lot of benefits that organizations can achieve by prioritizing customer experience. Yes, there's bottom line savings, but there's improvements across the organization. If you want to drive more engagement, for example, well, if you have a better customer experience, you're going to attract more people within your organization. So let's say if you're not addressing all the 100% of addressable spend, well, if you've got a better customer engagement model, you're probably going to be able to increase that easier. So that's just one of many examples, but you can do a lot more things when you're putting the customer experience first in procurement.
It's like that chocolate and broccoli kind of thing where,
I'm not sure
people.
about that one. That's a bad combination.
I mean, to me, they're the polar opposites, right?
Oh
It's
yeah, yeah. I
it's
was
if
thinking,
you put chocolate out on a table, you're going to get a whole lot of people coming up, and if you put
yeah,
broccoli on the table, you'll get a few, but you're not going to have a lineup unless you're maybe at a vegetarian convention for broccoli lovers. But that is not most
yeah.
businesses. So if we think about that attitude of the, more flies with honey, I think there's an opportunity to, put that teaspoon of sugar into everybody's procurement vibe that they bring out into the business and that they just show up with in the world.
It really is. Most procurement organizations are not mandated. There are some out there that are mandated. And in the ones that are not mandated, some of those organizations are some of the best procurement organizations in the world. They
Yeah.
do that with the carrot approach, not the stick. Yes, you're going to put some governance requirements out there. There's some legal requirements. There's a few things you need to work through. But by and large, people work with procurement in those organizations because they add value to the business. So, how you're
Yeah.
helping your stakeholders, how you're helping your internal customers, how you're driving value across the business, how you're enabling revenue. Doing good attracts more good, and you'll find that you get more and more people reaching out to you because of this carrot approach and the value that you're delivering to the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about some of the factors that impact the mood and the attitude and the vibe within procurement teams, it makes such a difference, right? There's the we get to serve the business versus, oh, I got to deal with another procurement request. Even that difference of here to serve versus, oh man, I got to deal with something, that can creep into an organization really quickly. And we really need to find ways to kick that back out. I often find so much of that starts from the top, that tone at the top, the values of the organization, and even the reporting relationship and is going to drive a lot of that. Where do you see it working well, and what advice do you have for companies to help get that right?
It absolutely does come from the top. Um, but that kind of rolls down to the organization. You need to create an environment for your teams to do their best work. So how are you showing up? Are you showing up on Monday and exhausted from the weekend and I don't want to do anything? Or are you showing up on Monday feeling inspired and, hey, how can I help the team? What can I do for you? I think it depends on how you show up because your teams are going to get that from you and they're going to duplicate that. So if they see you taking care of their internal customers, they're going to take care of the internal customers. If they see you're rude, they're going to probably duplicate that. Everybody's watching what you're doing. So I think it comes from how you show up every day. It's how you embody the values and behaviors in an organization. And it's all the little things that your team is watching with what you're doing, as well as your peers. Now, you might be in a situation where maybe it's not the best organization, but you still might be an incredible procurement leader. You can,
Yeah.
even in those environments, you can still create an environment that's ideal for your team, that's customer focused and move it forward. But it really depends how you show up and inspiring your team to do their best work.
A lot of that has that lead by example. And it also comes from a sense of this analogy of be the lighthouse, not the tugboat. And by that, be that beacon, the shining light, and just set an example. And with the way that you lead, as opposed to trying to drag them or cajole or something, and those two create vastly different examples. So I think that kind of a concept can go a really long way to help reinforce that and just give a few folks maybe a couple of ideas as they watch this to go and help them find new and better ways to bring that customer experience that's so important back into the organization, because then that mindset shift starts to create the mental space for, hey, there's better ways to collaborate with better processes, better tools, etc. But it's got to start with customer experience matters, doesn't it?
Customer experience is absolutely critical. And and part of building on what you said, I want an environment where I've got teams of leaders. It's not just
Yeah,
me, but everyone on the team in their own right is a leader. So I want to create an environment where, like I said before, they can do their best work. But when these things can come up, they feel empowered to take action. They know what the company needs and they can move things forward. You don't want to slow it down. You want to be able to move at the speed of business. And so much happens today. We need to be able to move quicker. We got to do more with less in a shorter amount of time. We got to make decisions quicker. We might not have ideal information or maybe say 100% of information, but we definitely need to move. So you want to be able to create that environment for your teams.
100%. That's amazing. Ryan, really grateful for you taking some time out of your day. Thank you so much for sharing with the group. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for joining another edition of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.